Mm-hmm.
I don't have a mark on my face, and I upset Sonny Liston, and I just turned 22 years old. I must be the greatest. I told the world, I talk to God every day. If God's with me, ain't no matter, he'll get me back. I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I shook up the world.
I said, can I be a legend? Search your soul and answer me this question. Do you think I have what it takes to be great, but still be humble and learn from my mistakes?
Good night, everyone, and welcome back to your favorite sports show, your brother's favorite sports show, your father's favorite sports show, and hopefully your girl's favorite sports show at some point in time. It is indeed This Just In. And if you've seen the promos that we've had across all of our favorite or your favorite social media accounts, then you know we have a special guest, my good friend Jeff Rubin, none other than the co-founder of the SportsMe app. Welcome, Jeff, and how are you tonight, man?
Hey, what's up, Justin? Neil, thank you guys for having me. I was hoping to come on the show 2 weeks ago, but I know that I couldn't for scheduling, so I've been looking forward to this.
Yeah, that's my fault. Kind of a little reschedule problems there. So sorry for not introducing Neil, but y'all guys are accustomed to Neil. So let's just
see, that's what happens. I get relegated to background noise, but glad to see you all. Good night, everybody.
I don't even know where to start because you know the big news in the NFL. But before we jump into that, I want to get to Jeff's fast rising app. And if you are big in the sports world, I want to tell you this is the fastest rising sports app out there right now, SportsMe. So, Jeff, first of all, tell the folks that are watching the show all about SportsMe.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Well, first, everyone should check it out now because in a couple weeks, it might not be as easy to check it out. So I have some news on that soon. But really, SportsMe is really think like TikTok meets Clubhouse meets Around the Horn. Anybody can come on. You can create your own topic. You can collaborate with other people. Everything is short, 30 seconds or less. You come in, you drop a hot take. Other people join you. It's gamified. It's short form. It's fun. It's super engaging. And we just honestly, Justin, I mean, you know this, for the past 2 months, 3 months now, there have just been hundreds of creators and podcasters who have found SportsMe, and we've reached out to some, and it's just been amazing to see. This is the best sports community that has ever existed. People have become friends. People have collaborated through SportsMe on SportsMe and then other places, which is what we love. And we have big visions for SportsMe, and I think ultimately it's we want to help creators and fans and athletes and potential partners who we're talking with all do what is hard today: make collaboration easier, make it more seamless. How can we help creators monetize if that's something that they want to do? How can we how can we grow distribution? How can we make their reach bigger? How can we make collaboration so easy while getting monetization and distribution? And SportsMe right now is its basic form. We have a lot of stuff coming, but we're really focused on the early community. Engagement is honestly off the charts. People come in and they spend a ton of time in. They love it. They share it. And we're excited to, we're excited for what's next. And every day is a new challenge. And, there's a lot of stuff going on in the sports world, which certainly helps. But it's been awesome.
Like as you heard Jeff said, it's not going to be as easy to join going forward. So please, if you're watching this or whenever you rewatch this, please jump on the SportsMe app. I've been preaching to this to Neil. I call it the mobile version of Around the Horn. So Jeff, eventually, where do you see SportsMe going when it's all said and done?
Yeah. Eventually, and this is interesting, we think of SportsMe, Derek and I, my co-founder, and Derek, who's on SportsMe. We think of SportsMe as a platform that serves as a talent and digital goods marketplace where creators can come create authentic, real conversations with other people that's shareable, that's monetizable, and it's fun. And eventually you can find other people to collaborate with and create content with. If it's an athlete or an influencer or content creators who you typically could not create content with, there's going to be an opportunity to pay for some of that, which is going to be amazing. It's going to open up opportunity and reach and distribution that doesn't exist today. And we think it's going to turn into more of like a marketplace for content and talent and creators. And but ultimately, everyone will have a voice, and everyone will be able to engage with other people, collaborate, and just have fun talking about sports. And for as you guys know, right, millions and millions and millions and millions of people, over 160 people, this is what they do. And so what we did with SportsMe is we took a lot of like the daily behaviors that people did anyway, and we turned it into our own radically different platform that doesn't exist today. Because we didn't want to be another sports for Instagram or sports for Twitter or sports for sports for like a Facebook. We wanted to take a radically different approach, and that's what you see today. And it's only going to get a lot better.
Well, let's bring SportsMe right here, right now, because as you jumped in right before we started this show, and I feel like we're going to be the first show to basically talk about this.
Hell yeah.
Dak Prescott just got paid. That's right. If you're watching this live and you have not had any of your apps turned on, Dak Prescott just got his big payday.
Yep.
4 years, $160 million. 126 of those guaranteed, and they think the deal can go as high as $164 million. So let us start with you, Jeff. Is this contract well deserved for Dak?
100%. I mean, this is a guy who went into a season, he wanted to get paid more than a franchise tag. He played his butt off, right? This dude played so hard for an owner who maybe didn't appreciate him, an organization that didn't appreciate him like they should have. And what did he do? Time and time again, he proved that he was the guy. He was the franchise leader that could take them to the next level. The dude just wanted to get paid, right? It's not like they don't have the money. You need to pay a quarterback of this caliber a certain amount of money, so just do it. And they wasted time and they wasted effort, but ultimately did it. And, I just worry, Justin, that like teams are going to look at Dallas and say, like, if I go to Dallas, is it going to be a pain is it going to be a pain the next contract? Like, am I going to be underappreciated? Am I going to be underserved? So who knows how free agents want to sign there?
And that's kind of weird for me, because when you look at everyone else, you take let's take, for example, you look at Ezekiel Elliott, of his off-field issues, but there was no problem with him getting paid. Amari Cooper, he got paid. Jalen Smith got paid. And these are players, I want to say, who are A, not as valuable as that, and B, did not prove as much as that. And it did not seem an issue to pay these guys for Jerry Jones. It's like, well, maybe with the exception of Zeke, even though Zeke didn't have to hold out. These guys got paid. And here is your franchise quarterback who, up till last season, didn't miss any games, who didn't get any off-season issues, who has basically been the, fresh-faced soldier, like the face of your franchise, who has done everything you asked of him and more. Made the playoffs in 2 seasons.
Yep.
And has a playoff victory, against Detroit. And you fought him tooth and nail to pay him. Had you just paid him when Carson Wentz and Jared Goff got paid, you would have avoided this huge payday. You'd actually paid him less.
Yeah.
I don't know how you corner yourself into a hole here. So, Neil, I'll ask you quickly before we go on, because obviously we didn't exactly have this on our schedule.
Yeah,
Neil,
yeah.
Are you surprised that of the outcome there? Are you surprised that they ended up paying so much for that?
I am not surprised. Like both you guys said, he is the consummate professional. When you think Cowboys in this current era, you do think about Dak Prescott. He has been that guy that has shown up and done everything you needed in your franchise to do. So I'm not surprised he got paid. I it's funny, right? Because what we try to do is not really listen. It's very hard, but like going into these shows, we try not to listen to any sports shows or anything like that. But it was funny. I found myself watching some, and some of the guys were saying, they really feel Jerry Jones is gonna for lack of a better term, screw the pooch and kind of mess it up and stuff like that. As Justin alluded to, he ended up paying a lot more than what he would have paid if he had paid, if he had done this when, as you mentioned, Jared Goff and Carson Wentz had gotten their money. So, yeah, I'm not surprised. I am actually quite surprised that Jerry Jones held up for so long. I'm quite surprised that he found himself in this situation at this point. But, yeah, I mean, well deserved. I mean, I think he deserves every bit of it.
So we're going to skip a lot of the schedule because, as I said, obviously this is breaking news, so we did not foresee this. Then, with obviously him off the table now, Jeff, he is no longer obviously a franchise tag candidate. Yep. Do you see, or who do you think, because the deadline, I think, for tags is coming up tomorrow, and by tomorrow, if you're going to watch the show later on, I do mean Tuesday, who do you see as candidates to be tagged by that tag deadline?
I mean, I was just looking at the list, and there are so many good players that are available that other teams would love to gobble up. I look at the receivers. Tell me if I'm missing anyone. Galladay. I'm looking at Godwin. You have Aaron Jones. I mean, Will Fuller. Maybe not Will Fuller as much, but like an Aaron Jones. Like, how sexy would he be on the open market for a team like the Bucks or a team like the Rams, maybe, or like the Dolphins, right? And so I think Aaron Jones is probably going to get the franchise tag. They can't afford to lose him. I don't know who they have as a backup, but whoever that is not. This is your team. What do you agree? I just think he's the guy that, of all the free agents, Chris Godwin, like, they can get away with that. They could sign OBJ and like some other dude, but like Jones, if they want to win the Super Bowl this season, they got to keep this guy.
And that was my concern. If you've heard me on other shows, and particularly this one, Neil is tired hearing me say it. I said last season was the year that they had to win because going into this offseason was going to be very precarious. And you heard Aaron Rodgers mention it, but a lot of people thought he was basically saying he may not be back. And obviously when you draft a quarterback in the first round, that is a huge possibility.
Yep.
But I think he was more pointing towards two very key free agents, Corey Linsley, the All-Pro center, and the most important one you just mentioned, in Aaron Jones. Here's the thing. The franchise is very, very steeped in tradition, and this is something that's going to shock both of you. The Green Bay Packers as a franchise have never used the franchise or transition tag.
Yeah, I heard that, yeah.
Of course, Mike Gutekunst is only his second or third year as a general manager, so he may depart from that. That is the only way we keep Aaron Jones, and you're correct. That is a piece to the equation. I do not think the Green Bay Packers can lose right now if they want to, win a Super Bowl, and that I would have to figure is a plan. You're not going to be able to pay him what he wants. I think he just hired Drew Rosenhaus, and he is not known for doing team-friendly deals. So if Aaron Jones is back, it is back, as you said, a franchise tag. And it will require Green Bay departing from culture to use that franchise tag on him. I think I'm a bit 50-50 split. I do know we're not paying him what he's going to want. So it is either that he leaves in free agency or we tag him. But in terms of Tampa Bay, I suspect, though, it's going to come down between Chris Godwin and Shaquille Barrett. And for me, I'd tag a pass rusher before I tag a number 2 receiver. I don't know, what Jason Light is thinking over there. I don't have his roster.
I agree. I mean, why would you want to tag your second best receiver when you could get other positions and you could fill it? Yeah. You could backlog it with like an OBJ and someone else, right?
Yeah.
And that's my thinking. And you can just bring back Antonio Brown if you think he fits your roster and the culture for another season.
Definitely.
But but I've heard the rumors that they are looking at indeed Godwin over Shaquille Barrett, but that I
completely agree. I mean, again, you guys are kind of hitting all cylinders with how I'm seeing these situations. I was thinking about Chris Godwin and about his production with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but as you rightly said, why would you choose your second best receiver when you have a pass rusher there that you can obviously franchise and kind of fill in, especially when you have Antonio Brown there, OBJ is in the wing somewhere. So, I mean, yeah, I completely agree. I unfortunately have nothing to add here.
Well, I mean, the only thing is, though, they could potentially pick up like a Van Noy and not get Barrett, and then you could keep Godwin. But we have to remember, they just won the Super Bowl. They have 1 or 2 years of the greatest player in professional sports history who's going to lead this team off of a Super Bowl. He just did it with a new team and just wowed expectations. Like, no one really thought that Tampa Bay was actually going to win it, but they won it.
Yep.
I mean, if you're a free agent and you've never won or you've made a bunch of money, what's the difference between like $8 million and 5.5 or 6 if winning is important to you? And so if you're like a Godwin, maybe you take less. If you're Barrett, maybe you take less. If you're OBJ, maybe you do it on the minimum salary because you know that you've made so much money that now you want to win and you want to prove everybody wrong. I would imagine that they're going to get a lot of bites for free agents, guys who are just going to take a little bit less money to play with Tom Brady and this team and hope for a Super Bowl victory.
I agree, Jeff, and it's almost like slowly but surely, and we've seen it in the quarterback situation with these high-level quarterbacks forcing their hand. You're seeing a situation where the NBA culture is kind of creeping in to the NFL because we've seen where players kind of franchise hop or run behind superstars to win titles, and we no better example than Tampa Bay itself. So that gives me the perfect segue into what the show really was supposed to be about, the NBA All-Star wrap-up. We saw, and I know Jeff is chomping at the bit because he really is a big basketball guy. So speaking of this NBA culture, we saw the NBA All-Star weekend was typically over 3 days condensed into one.
Yeah.
And you felt a lot of the players, particularly the star ones, saying they were against the hosting. But now that we've had a chance to watch Sunday's festivities, and I'm going to start with you again, Jeff. Did you agree with the NBA actually hosting All-Star Weekend for 1 day in Atlanta?
I thought it was the stupidest idea, right? We're in the middle of a pandemic. These guys, the players don't want to play in the game. They don't want to travel. They want to be with their families. No one wants to travel anymore. No one even wants to leave their house more than they have to, right? Like, we're still in that world, and we're going to be for a long time, right? I just think, like, the NBA, they should have just said, you know what, like, sure, like, we do some stuff for the players, but ultimately, like, we only care about money and dollar signs. Let's just give them this one. And it's a weird season. Everyone's getting injured. You know, teams are losing guys left and right. Let everyone chill. I mean, honestly, like, I assume both you guys watched the game before you turn it off because the game was just the worst All-Star game ever. Yeah. Honestly, in the first 2 minutes of the game, I'm watching, and, like, Kyrie made this, like weird, like, bouncy hop layup thing. And I was looking at it, and I was like, oh my God, no one in this game cares. And no one is even playing, and they're just literally letting someone who has the ball go up for any sort of shot he wants.
Yeah.
Even like Giannis, who, like, doesn't have, like, a non-defensive motor in his body. Like, he always plays defense, even if he doesn't want to, or he doesn't try. He's just, like, still, like, this magical defender. Even he wasn't playing defense. You know, his arms were loose, and he was, like, just didn't care. Nobody wants to see that. The slam dunk contest was a joke. I'm sorry. Like, those guys are great. I love Anthony Simmons. I like Simmons. I like Obi Toppin. Not sold on Cassius Stanley, so whatever. But there's, like, 100 guys in the NBA I'd rather have in the slam dunk contest, and you couldn't get any of those 100 plus people. Maybe 150 players I'd rather have. So who knows?
So I'm guessing, yes, you are not a fan. Yeah, I think we can summarize and say
clearly we could tell Jeff. He's not a fan of last night. Yeah, no.
So I'm going to put it to you, Neil. Condensed version. We saw everything in one night. Skills, 3-point, then the All-Star game, halftime, dunk out. continue the All-Star game. Neil, are you or were you in favor after watching Sunday's All-Star weekend?
Well, I'll tell the truth, Justin. When it came to the All-Star game, just like Jeff, I didn't think it made sense. It's a game that no one cares about, really. It's really for the fans. And if the fans can't really watch in person, and you have those celebrities courtside, and you have all of that hype and all the noise and all the hype of the dunk off and everything like that, if you don't have that, then what's the sense? I understand the fans are very invested in it, and it's kind of like a give back from the NBA and their players to the fans. But in a time like this, I didn't really see sense, especially with a shortened season, and a lot of those players haven't played deep into the playoffs last season, and a lot of them, especially players like LeBron, etc., Kawhi, Paul George, they're looking for a lot of any opportunity to rest. But I would say though, after the night, I came away with two things. One. Well, I came away with several things, but the most important points I came away with was I actually like the format of having everything on one night. Yes, it's a bit long I think it's a bit long for some players. Like, obviously, Steph is going to have to do the three-point shooting, and then he's going to, and then certain players, like, let's say Zion is an all-star game, but you really want to see him in the dunk off. He may not be able to do that. But I actually like it because we've seen the dunk off in previous years where it has not really been high profile players, so we've seen a lot of role players, kind of bench players being in the dunk off. So then it's like they're never going to be any all-star. Just let them compete for that as a halftime show and let that be that. The three-point shootout was amazing. I thought it was a great. Steph Curry is, as the guys like to say, Steph is going to Steph. And,
of course.
I mean, he was amazing. Even in the game too, and the All-Star game. While I do share the sentiments of Jeff of it being not competitive, and I think they kind of gave up on it because certain players for Team Durant was not there. Kevin Durant wasn't there. Ben Simmons wasn't there.
Embiid wasn't there.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, you even like seeing the rosters, I was like, yo, this is gonna be a wash, right? Because LeBron has
Kevin Durant should never get into managing ever, ever again.
It was terrible. But yeah, I mean, at the end of it, I thought it was I thought it was entertaining from the standpoint of the half court shots, Steph and Damian Lillard. All those point guards catching alley-oops. To me, Team Durant really didn't show anything. Zion looked very nervous. I thought it was entertaining for what it was. I didn't tune into anything past when Damian Lillard hit that last shot. And overall, coming away from the game, I think at the end, you know what? It wasn't a bad idea. I think they handled it really well, especially the HBCUs and the promotion of that, and
definitely
bringing awareness to those things. I thought at the end of the day, man, I think the guys were glad to have that camaraderie, to see Steph and Damian Lillard do their thing, Giannis getting MVP. So I would say the perfect moment to sum it up was when Giannis was going up for a three-point shot. I think he was like 13 or 13. And they were telling him, no, don't shoot it. No. And they hit it, and they were like, no, yes. So to me, guys, the All-Star weekend for me is like, no, yes. I mean, at the end of the day, yes, some guys will be missing. No, you don't know what I think in the end, man, it kind of worked. I thought the challenge was horrible. It was terrible. All in all, it was entertaining.
So let me put this up there. I'm with Jeff to start. Because I was like, clearly this is just a cash grab. Like, how are you? You know what the situation is, and you're going in a city like Atlanta, where players are going to want to go around. You tell them no, you're only coming here for one night. Private jets in and out. Restrict these players to their locker rooms, their hotel rooms. And then something like the All-Star game where you're going to have them waiting for like an hour because in halftime you have a dunk off.
Yeah.
And my issue with that is that can lead to injury. Can you imagine you're an athlete, you're warm, playing, then you have to sit out, get cold, and then immediately jump start again and play. And they're like, nah, that's a recipe for disaster. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to be that guy and say it was actually a success. I'm going to be that guy, and this is not because I like the game, because as Jeff correctly said, the game was not good. But I think Steph Curry reminded us who Steph Curry is this entire week, that Sunday.
Yep.
we saw, like, none of us ever thought that he was going to lose that 3-point contest, even when it came down to the last shot and that last shot.
Yeah.
Even himself was like, I'm going to have to hit all of these, and it doesn't matter. And then, I want to say he went 2 rounds, and he was 3 of 4 from those Mountain Dew balls that seemed like 40 feet away from the ring.
Yep.
The hell. And then he goes in the game and shows you, that's my range again still. Like, he and Damian Lillard were legit hitting half-court shots.
That's what they do. I said this on a battle, and I will gladly show you this, maybe if I can find it, or you guys look yourself. I said Steph Curry might be the best player in the NBA, and people on SportsMe call me crazy. But Neil, if you think about it, I don't know if you're on SportsMe yet. So Justin may have seen it. When he scored 85, 65 points or something earlier this season, I mean,
62, I think.
The fact that his team is even sniffing the playoffs is a miracle. The fact that they're even looking at the playoffs and there's like this utter hope of playoffs is like a miracle to the basketball god. The fact that he can literally make it from 60 feet anytime he wants means LeBron and AD and Giannis and Tatum and Kyrie, all these guys have to shoot from much closer to the basket where guys are going to defend you. Curry can be just as effective at the same exact efficient rate from farther away when no one is guarding him. He actually has a more efficient pathway to score, and he does it better than anyone, and he makes his team better. And if you took Steph Curry away from that team, they would go potentially 5 and however many games they're playing this season. Like, they are that bad.
Yeah.
They wouldn't even win. They win 4 games, right? But LeBron, like, you take him out, AD and this team will win a bunch of games. Like, obviously AD isn't playing, and look what's happening to the Lakers. Like, they're struggling like crazy. The best moment of the All-Star game, though, Neil, just because you mentioned Giannis, or maybe it was you, Justin, was when Giannis handed when Curry hit one of those 2 like crazy long threes. Giannis got like a little giddy, and everyone knows that Giannis like doesn't make friends with everyone. He isn't like, he's not friends with people. He doesn't work out with them in the off season. He doesn't do he doesn't do social media with everybody. But when Steph Curry made that 3, he kind of gave him this like high five, and I could see the look in his eye saying, "Oh my God, I am the stupidest person in the world. Why did I take $250 million when I could have taken 200 and I could have played with Steph Curry and won 7 championships? What was I thinking?" But he did it, and he made it. He made the worst decision of his life, and they're never going to win, and he's never going to get traded. But he might, though, because NBA stars can just ask to get traded, and then like before you know it, they get traded, because that's the new world we live in.
And that's why it was a success for me, because it is like Steph Curry reminded the world, I'm still Steph Curry, and you got to see that on a national stage, because Golden State games are too late. I'm in my bed by that time.
Yeah. Justin, would you rather see Curry and Durant or Curry and Giannis?
Here's my thing. It's going to sound weird. The latter. Because, like, it's a perfect compliment. Like, as you correctly talked about how Steph, like, basically expands the court. And can you imagine a court being expanded for Giannis to be inside the paint by himself? Could you imagine having to leave Giannis one-on-one because the court is expanded? You're trying to account for Steph Curry 40 feet behind the arc.
And you have Klay Thompson, and you have Draymond, who's just passing left and right. And you have Wiseman, and you have other guys, and you probably trade Wiseman to go get like somebody.
Yeah, you're correct. Like, can you imagine Giannis looking at that? He's like,
what an idiot.
That's the perfect offense for me, right? Like, once you surround them with shooters, right? Like, Steph's gonna bring the ball. You have to mark him anywhere over half court. Giannis can take 3 dribbles from a defensive rebound and score.
Yeah,
right.
Like, that's not even.
You have Draymond facilitating the whole thing. You have Klay Thompson in a corner waiting for 3. And then if you somehow manage to keep players like Andrew Wiggins and Kelly Oubre, you have guys that could give you 10, 12 points a night.
I would say the move, Neil, is trade one or two of those guys free up cap room, and get bench players. Do everything the Nets did not do. Get the right bench players and get the right guys who are going to be the balance that teams need to win titles. That's all they needed. That's all they would need to do.
Yeah. I mean, that would be scary to think, to be honest.
I love Jeff because he's annoying me or giving me these perfect segues. Because I was going to talk about the dunk out, but as you're correct, no one wants to talk about Anthony Simons and
no. Hold on. Let's one brief thing I have to say about the dunk off, right? How do you give Cassius Stanley? How do you give that dude 44 coming off the bench, like literally getting up? Okay, here's the ball going dunk. Yes, where have we gotten in basketball lore where an East Bay between the legs dunk is a 44?
Yeah,
no, like that's crazy to me.
Also, wait. While we're on the slam dunk contest, before we go to the next topic, I'm going to do an attempt to kiss the rim. If you're Anthony Simmons and you whiff, if you airball the kiss to the rim, you should get a 0, right? You guys saw that. He literally whiffed on the kiss at the rim. You're jumping up that high anyway. Just kiss the goddamn thing. If you dunk it, you're going to get a 10 and you're going to win. And you can't even kiss the thing.
I thought it would have been perfect. You know what I thought it would have been perfect? Because of COVID-19, right? If you had just put on a mask and you jump, because I understand you're worried about your teeth or whatever, the ball hitting your face or whatever. But if you put on like a face shield and a mask or something like that, and you go up and you even just put your mouth by the ring. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't know if it would go as far as you, Jeff, to say he would get a 0 because that man's mouth was at the ring. He's 6'3". But I do agree, like, you could have found a way to, even if you didn't show the lips kissing, you could have shown, I don't know, like probably get a mask with some lipstick or something and a face shield, and I don't know.
I love that the kid was responsible and practiced social distancing the time that we needed. So I had no problem with it. Like, keep your mouth away from the surface. I'm with that. You got to practice social distancing. So I appreciated that, and I also appreciated having that Dwayne Wade rule. Just that I wish I had it a year earlier, where you pick a winner instead of choosing scores, so you have to go back and forth. Quickly, I'll just ask y'all guys, quick yes or no, do y'all like the rule having you choosing a winner instead of scoring in the final round?
I'm going to say yes or no. I like it because it nullifies the back and forth and, the Bulgarian judge, as we like to call it, and certain shenanigans.
Call Dwayne Wade by name. Go ahead.
Yeah. Dwayne Wade and Shaq. Don't forget Shaq now. Shaq has done some weird stuff too. I do agree with it in that you want to keep things moving. You don't want the guys to be there a whole night, kind of with like how Aaron Gordon and Levine, they were not run out of dunks, but it was like going on a bit too long. However, I do think that you should somehow allow maybe give them 2 dunks or 3 dunks or something like that, because you don't want to have 2 prolific dunkers in a future dunk off, and they do 1 dunk and it's like, oh, well, thanks for coming. Let's choose a winner. Like, I feel as though I still like that, this guy gets the 50, this guy gets the 50, and it's like, oh, okay, I got to go deep in my bag. This guy gets the 50, okay, I got to get deep in my bag. I don't want it to go on for the entire night, and then you have guys missing dunks and trying things that they weren't prepared to do. But if they could somehow find a way to combine both of them to make it maybe like 2 rounds in the finals where you do 2 dunks, and then you choose the winner based on the 2 dunks you saw, then I have no problem with that.
Jeff?
I mean, I agree. I don't know what else I could. I agree with Neil.
Oh, well, as I said, quick yes or no, and we got our yes and, well, basically no. So quickly to Jeff's favorite NBA topic, and Neil doesn't know about Jeff and his love for the Brooklyn Nets. Speaking of breaking news, we found out right during All-Star Game, All-Star Weekend, whatever you wanted to call it, on Sunday, that Blake Griffin cleared waivers and has indeed signed with the Brooklyn Nets. So, sorry, Neil, we were going to start with Jeff because this is indeed the team that Jeff loves to hate. What does Blake Griffin bring to the Brooklyn Nets, and does this move essentially put the Nets over the top? No, Jeff.
Literally the worst move they could have made.
I did know nothing such. So
Literally. Look,
I can see Jeff is one of those sports fans that I would love to just talk sports with.
Oh,
No,
Neil, you literally can. This is why we have SportsMe. It's literally you. This is what
I'm gonna sign up after this show. For real.
You talk with anyone and you make friends and you collaborate with people in seconds about any topic you want. It's dope as hell and it's so fun. But to your point, look. I'm a Celtics fan, and so I'm a little biased because obviously I want my team to win. Who doesn't want their team to win and say crap about the other team? So obviously there's a little bit of bias and whatever. And Boston fans are maybe a little bit more biased than other cities. Anyway, here's what they needed. They don't need scoring. Don't get anyone who even wants to touch the basketball and shoot the basketball. Here are some facts, and I read this today, and it blew my mind. Blake Griffin is scoring about 12 points a game. He's shooting 35% from the field, 31% from three. That is god-awful. My little daughter, who's 11 months old, can shoot better than that. And she literally...
Price, man, my first ring.
She's just chucking like little balls in like the basement, and she could probably hit more than Blake Griffin can. But on top of that, the athletic defender who they thought they were acquiring is now, and again, I actually kind of like Blake Griffin as like he definitely brings some things to the team. But if he had signed with any team but the Nets, it would have been a good pickup. Even the Celtics, I would have said it was a good pickup. But he has not dunked once this season. Let me repeat.
He hasn't dunked in
Let me
2
repeat.
years, Jeff.
Let me repeat.
He has not dunked.
He is the athletic defensive guy that they got to help the three scorers has not dunked all season or however long. What about putback, rebounds? What about playing in the lane? What about transition? Those lead to dunks. And when you have three of the best scorers, those should lead to opportunities for easy baskets, which are ding, 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 ding. A dunk is the easiest basket in the NBA, right? Unless you screw it up or try and kiss the rim. But the thing is, they got a guy who did nothing that they needed, and he plays no defense anymore. And all he wants to do, by the way, he takes more 3-point shots than he does 2-point field goals.
That's pretty much the way, but yeah, pretty much.
This is the guy that you wanted to get. Like, okay, I'm happy because I can't wait till the Celtics play them, and he's going to be dribbling around. He's going to take a shot, and Kyrie's going to look at him like, what the hell are you doing? And James Harden is going to look at him like, that was my shot. And KD's just going to be like,
no,
Twitter.
SportsMe.
Burner. Get to my burner account very quickly.
He's going to hop on SportsMe after the game and be like, Blake, let's battle, dude. But that is coming, by the way, but soon enough.
So, Neil, same question to you. What does Blake Griffin bring, and does this acquisition put them over the top?
I think Blake Griffin brings an intimidation factor of his previous body of work. I think that when you look at those four names on a roster, like you're going to play this team or you're scouting or what have you. You have Kyrie Irving, KD, James Harden, and now Blake Griffin. You're like, wow, that is DeAndre Jordan too. Like, can you imagine, even if you were to start those five guys, what that would look like? Would you imagine him coming off the bench? Like it speaks of, like majesty of a unicorn. But
Blake, thank you. Please.
Blake's best by day is gone many years ago. Granted, Blake may still have something in the tank and he may be able to offer things off of the bench. But I think right now, I don't know if he's a good fit. He doesn't play defense. He's a shell of himself offensively. Granted, he was playing in Detroit and now, he may be reinvigorated with the Brooklyn Nets. But offense is covered. You don't have to worry about offense. As Jeff rightly said, what they need is defense. They need somebody to stand up next to DeAndre Jordan, or when DeAndre Jordan goes off the court, and help grab rebounds, block shots, deter shots, keep people off the paint. I don't know if Blake Griffin is still that. I know he would look well in a pick and roll situation with James Harden instead of DeAndre Jordan. Maybe get a dunk here
No,
and there.
because DeAndre Jordan can actually get above the ring and dunk on a pick and roll. That is not an option for Blake Griffin anymore.
You can't go to the playoffs when the playoffs slow down. Ask James Harden what happens when the playoffs come. Everything slows, and guys who are in the bench rotation, like that 8th guy, he's never going to see the court. That 7th guy is like kind of going to see the court. And these guys, not only are they injury prone, and like we have no idea if they're going to last the full season, right? They're all off big injuries. There's COVID, so that's a whole nother thing. Who knows who's going to be out? So this season, like, who knows what? Anybody, LeBron and AD could get COVID and be out for the NBA Finals, and like, what can you do, right? Whatever. Kind of like last season. Boom, roasted. LA. I just think that like there were so many guys that they could have got, and they totally screwed it up. And all they needed to do was get a no-name guy who played defense and would like be willing to pass and sacrifice his body and was like 6'8" to 7'1". But we'll see. Who knows? Again, if they're going to get to the playoffs, back to my point about the playoffs slowing down, they can't score 160 points and give up 145 points every game. When they play against good teams that play awesome defense, like the Heat, the Bucks, the Celtics, the Pacers. Even the Knicks are playing like a weird, interesting style of D. Like, it's going to be a whole different ball game.
Before I jump in here, Neil, did you want to finish your point before I get into this?
No, I mean, the only thing I could think about is this is an intimidation factor. This is oh my gosh, remember when Lob City, James Harden. Like, me personally, I would not be afraid of a Blake Griffin signing in 2021. Maybe 2013, maybe 2014. I'd be like, oh man, what they got going on over there? But no, I don't know. I would have to see some games. As we were saying, maybe Blake might decide, you know what, I'm going to hustle and sacrifice my body and actually get in there and muck it up, get some rebounds, understand my role is not to score. Who knows? But right now, based on what we know on Blake Griffin and where his career is gone, I think that's just having another most defeat in terms of the offense.
So here's my take, Noah, and I disagree with Jeff for one point. There was no one else that the Brooklyn Nets can get because they don't have any more cap space nor any more trade assets. I think all of that went through the door for James Harden, and rightfully so. Yes, you are going to trade an injured Spencer Dinwiddie, and I don't know who wants a banged-up Spencer Dinwiddie who is out for the season. So it was basically, what can they get? And the answer to that question was a Blake Griffin that no one wanted to trade for. Does Blake Griffin put them over the top for me? The answer is no, but we must remember who are their coaches. Steve Nash and Mike D'Antoni. And they do not care about stopping anyone. Is that a recipe for success in the playoffs? Probably not, but I mean, has a team ever had 3 scorers at this level, 2 of which have been former MVPs and are still MVP caliber players, and the third World Championship MVP? No, we've never seen that before. So here's my thing. Brooklyn is not here to get Blake to play defense. Brooklyn is not here for Blake taking threes or creating its own. I suspect, and this is going to sound weird, all Brooklyn wants is for Blake to box out somebody. They just want him for his body to say, please, just box out this guy. We don't even need you to get a rebound because James Harden and Kevin Durant do that very well. Jeff Green is there. Just put your body on a big body. That's all you really want. Because we've too often, especially with KD out, we've seen James Harden having to mark 4s. No, ironically, as bad as James Harden is a perimeter defender, I've come to learn he's exceptional in the post as a defender.
Yep.
But you don't really want your point guard having to be banging around with people in the paint.
No.
So
unless you're Kyle Lowry, because then he loves that.
Oh yeah, he loves that. He loves the floor.
Or Andre Miller, who's like the best post up, or Sam Cassell. Other than that, no. Or Gary Payton. Other than that, no.
Yeah, unless you're a point guard in the 90s, you really don't want your floor general to be banging the paint with 4s, which James Harden seems to love. So I honestly believe the only reason they want Blake Griffin, because they do plan probably to play him at 5 and to spell Jeff Green when Jeff Green is off, or DeAndre Jordan. It's a sale of Blake. Body of that guy, just box him out. We don't even need you to rebound the ball. James Harden does that well. Kevin Durant does that well. Just box him out. And I think that is all they really want. Because as you correctly said, like Mike D'Antoni and Steve Nash do not care for, do not want any part of, do not consider, do not write down, do not fathom defense. They really don't care. And to your point, Jeff, can you score 160 points and give up 140? The Brooklyn Nets are going to try and find that out. If there is one team in the history of basketball who is willing to find that out, it is this one.
It wouldn't be for lack of trying, for sure.
It won't be for.
Yeah, but other teams have tried and failed, and even those teams that could score at a high pace, you look at the Golden State Warriors, you look at the Miami Heat when they had Wade and Bosh and LeBron. They had like two of the best defenders in the whole world that could literally stop everyone from 1 to 5. The Nets have guys who just don't play defense, and so it's not even about the hate. It's just like this realistic observation that like it's going to be hard for them. Like, can they win a title? Like, yes, of course they can win a title. They have 3 of the best 7 scorers in the world, right? Like, of course they could. It's just,
don't misunderstand me, Jeff. I am not here to tell you this is going to win. I am not here to tell you this is a good pickup. I am here to tell you this is what they want Blake Griffin for, and they are going to try to outscore teams. Whether it works or not is another question for another show. But the reality is, if there is one team that is going to try and win without even trying to play a modicum of defense, it is the 2020-2021 Brooklyn Nets.
Yep.
So that leads me to the next question. So I'm going to start with you, Neil, because I love your Laker bias on the show. Who are your title favorites going into the second half of the NBA season?
I don't think much has changed. I mean, when you look at the Brooklyn Nets, even without Blake Griffin, this recent addition, I mean, as Jeff rightly said, they have 3 of the best scorers in the world, and maybe one can argue the best big 3 ever in terms of scoring and offense. The Lakers are obviously there once we have a healthy AD. In terms of title contenders, I don't know. Past those 2, I am not too sure. Just Celtics, for some reason, they look really good. Their team is constructed well, but for some reason, I don't know if it's because they have similar pieces or everyone wants to defer, and you don't have that one alpha male that will go out and get you that.
Wow. Just kidding.
No,
yes, disrespect to Jason Tatum on this show. It's weird.
No. This is not. Hold on. This is not. No. Hold on. This is not a disrespect to Jason Tatum.
No,
Jason
double
Tatum.
down on the tape, Neil. Don't let.
No. Hold on. Don't instigate, Justin. The point is that I actually, and Justin can tell you, I think Jason Tatum is a stud. I actually think he is a problem on offense, right? But I think, like, to me, the kind of issue or missing link for me is Kemba Walker. Like, Kemba Walker's health is such a problem for me, and even like in late games, he wants to take over and be that guy, which is fine. But to me, like, you guys would be better served with a Kyle Lowry type of player, a player that can, just stick to what he does and, can be an offensive threat when ready, make the right play, sacrifice his body, that kind of thing. Kemba, you don't want him to sacrifice his body because he could be out 6 to 8 weeks.
I think this season he has been sacrificing his body.
Right.
Hence he's not been playing.
Right. But I mean, don't get me wrong, the team is constructed well. But in terms of title contenders, you still have Joel Embiid and the 76ers. You still have Giannis around there. Out west, you still have the Clippers. But if I were to choose 2 teams, like an Eastern Conference, Western Conference, and a final, I still have to go with the Brooklyn Nets versus the Los Angeles Lakers simply because of the firepower of the Brooklyn Nets, and they still have LeBron James playing basketball in LA. So
Jeff, do I expect you to say Boston in this group, or are we getting some different options here?
Let me stretch for this one.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Sounds like a hot take coming.
Look. You're not wrong, and you're also kind of not right-ish. But
I love
that's
it.
okay. We'll work on it. Here's what everyone needs to remember about the Boston Celtics for this year. They have played like 5 games with their best 5 players. Remember, Marcus Smart has been out for like a month now.
Before you continue, who would that 5th best player be? Because I could figure the first 4 you're mentioning, but who would that 5th person be? Just
I'm gonna say I'll say Tice. Tice.
Okay. All right, just wanted to clear that. So
that's actually a good.
Thompson.
No, that's actually a good reference point. So yes, I'm gonna say Tice because he actually is a really good, like, versatile 6'8" guy who can do a bunch of things, and he's a great defender, right? He's not Antonio, he's not Anthony Davis, like he's not Joel Embiid. Like, you can't expect that because that's not what he is. So, and that's a need for the Celtics. We need to get like an Andre Drummond. We need to get a JaVale McGee. We need to get a guy who's and I love Williams. So he if he can prove a little bit more, the dude can block shots better than anyone in the NBA, arguably. The dude has a motor. He's getting better. He's just not like an amazing defensive, like outside in the perimeter. But Neil, those guys haven't played together, and the issue is when Kemba is struggling, when he does one of those like 1 for 7 from 3. It kills the Celtics, and they're not going to win unless all the other guys do well. He also is a little bit of a defensive liability, but like he also gets a bunch of steals. So it's not like as bad as you would think. It's not as bad as like a Kyrie, but it's not like a wonderful defensive player, right? But Brad Stevens does his best to maximize who he has with the rotations. But when Kemba is hitting and he's passing, he is a really great facilitator who's also so clutch from mid-range. Like, remember last year in the playoffs when Jam was making shots and Jason Tatum was making shots and Marcus Smart was looking like the next Kobe Bryant, right? Like, it was crazy. And then Kemba Walker was like making shots and making backdoor passes to Tice in game 6 and 7 against the Raptors. And I'm just like, wow, like Kemba is doing what he kind of did at UConn right now for the Celtics. Because don't forget, he had the greatest run of any college player ever to win a title. And it's not even close. And that's actually a great battle topic coming up tonight. I'm going to drop that.
Please.
And Neil, that should be the first one that you join is the Kemba Walker special on, but hold on.
Tag me in that one, please.
And so, I think that they're missing a piece. They need to play. They are an amazing defensive team. They just need to do more of Celtics basketball and shots will fall. But they do, sometimes they're little reliant on someone else, and Jason Tatum like oftentimes will like look a little sluggish. He says it's COVID related. Who's to say it is, who's to say it isn't, but he definitely had it, and there's definitely some sort of struggle since then. So we'll see. I'm not like extremely optimistic that they're going to win a title, but at the same time, I think that they're like maybe a move away from making some serious noise. And again, if AD is not healthy, anybody can win. It's open season in the NBA.
So
I can't argue that.
I can't either, because obviously LeBron James in 36 years of age, playing 10 NBA finals and going to, I want to say, 6 other deep playoff runs. Yeah, I don't think you're correct, without a healthy AD, that's not a title winning team, because Dennis Schroeder is not good enough as your second best player. I love Dennis Schroeder on that team, by the way, but Dennis Schroeder is not good enough as a second best player to win you a title. I think we saw that.
No.
We saw that
Justin,
when Williams.
Hold on, Justin. Don't even let me start about second best player. Like, without AD, you gotta rely on Marc Gasol in your post to block shots and to score in the post, or Montrezl Harrell.
Yeah.
So
let's
not even talk second team.
My personal feeling with Marc Gasol. I think he should have retired in his offseason. But so Yeah, correct. So a healthy Anthony Davis, I have to start with the Lakers at 1. And this may be a blessing in disguise because Anthony Davis is injury prone. And if he does come back healthy, at least he's getting a very substantial block of rest. I have to go with Neil. If Anthony Davis comes back 100% or close to, then my finals would be Lakers against the Brooklyn Nets. I want to include the Clippers, but they have not addressed their biggest area of concern, which again is playmaking. They still do not have playmaking. It's just a bunch of isolation scores. Kawhi Leonard is great. Paul George has proven that he has gotten past last season. The issue is this is still the regular season, and there is nothing to connect the pieces.
Yep.
The Patrick Beverley is a good spot-up shooter for what he is, and a very good on-ball defender, but he is not a playmaker. Neither is Kawhi Leonard. Neither is Paul George.
Well, I would slightly SportsMe battle you on the Kawhi Leonard not being a playmaker because
he's not a playmaker.
He's not, but he's kind of like an atypical playmaker where he kind of is when he wants to be the best player in the NBA. Like his offense, when he wants to be, he's so big. He's like LeBron 10 years ago. He's so big and he's so physical. The dude goes to the hole against 3 guys and he gets offensive rebound after offensive rebound. He is kind of a playmaker in this weird way that isn't your typical playmaker-ish way. That's how I look at him as a playmaker, but totally his own like original content type of like playmaker.
Yes, because he has become an improved passer, but he is not that guy that is going to. You're not going to run your off. Well, yes, they do run your offense through him, but he's not the guy that you can put the ball in his hands and say, okay, create and get that ball to the opposite end in the corner for this wide open opportunity for 3. That's not going to happen.
You don't think?
No, that's not his game. He is. If you've ever seen him, you studied him. Remember, he was a system guy before, and these are his words, before he went to Kobe Bryant and learned how to be an isolation scorer. And that is what he is. He's an elbow, mid-range, and he can catch and shoot threes. Like he can pull up for threes.
Yeah, he
is. But reality is his game mirrors Kobe Bryant. And the thing is, Kobe Bryant, when he wanted to be, and his average is almost about 5 assists per game. When Kobe Bryant to be, Kobe is a good passer, but that's not Kawhi Leonard's game. Like Kawhi Leonard is not getting the ball to facilitate. Kawhi Leonard is getting the ball to go into a triple threat stance, isolate you at the elbow, isolate you on a wing, and score. That's what he does. And that's no knock on Kawhi Leonard, but it's a knock on team construction, not understanding. You still have to connect the other pieces. And having your 2-3 best players all being isolation scorers just not going to work for you.
Yeah.
I kind of like what Utah has done this year. I think Quinn Snyder's done a hell of a job, and I'm a Duke basketball fan, so I'm going to always love Quinn Snyder.
Yep.
Part of the problem I don't want to put Utah up there, though, is, and we talked about this, I want to say last episode, I don't like teams, unless you're Steph Curry, I do not like teams where your best player is a very small guard. And that's what Donovan Mitchell is. He may play above the rim, but he's a very small guard.
Yep.
And I say that to say, you mentioned it early on, Jeff, when it is playoff time, the game slows down and the possessions are fewer. And everyone knows what you're in the NFL. Everyone knows your plays. It is about execution. And Donovan Mitchell, very, very good scorer. The reality is, when it comes time for crunch situations now, you can throw a Kawhi Leonard, you can throw a LeBron James to bottle that up because he's so small. And they are just going to eat that guy for lunch. Like they're like, you can't score. Yep. You saw that when the Lakers played Denver in the conference finals. Like, it got to a point when LeBron said, all right, enough is enough. I'm going to take on Jamal Murray. And you saw what happened. Like, that was the end of that. Small guards do not bode well against teams like the Clippers, against the Lakers, where they can throw big bodies at you and clamp that down. If it's supposed to add another team, I want to say and I'm not a fan of his as a coach because I do not respect, I don't rate Doc Rivers. But what I have seen out of Joel Embiid this season is what we've always been waiting for all this while. And because two things, they play defense at such a high level. They have two elite defenders and a third who is still very good in Danny Green. You have, as I said, Joel Embiid. You have Ben Simmons. These are elite defenders at their positions.
Yep.
And Ben Simmons, sorry, not Ben Simmons, backtrack there. Joel Embiid has now shown you when he wants a bucket, he is now unstoppable. And like, you can't stop the ball from getting into him in the post. You can't stop him from scoring. I have to like Philadelphia to at least get to the conference finals, and that may prove problematic for Brooklyn because they can defend Brooklyn, but can Brooklyn defend Joel Embiid, and that may be problematic.
Yeah. Well,
so
yeah.
I'd put three. I'd say 1A, 1B, and then put Philadelphia somewhere like a 3 or 4.
Yeah, I can't argue.
You know, when it comes to Philly, right, and I've said this a lot, I know Joel, I'm good friends with his manager, and I've met him a bunch of times. Super nice.
Send on the digits so we can get Joel on this show, please.
Like, honestly, like, when I would talk to her, Jenny, his manager, over the last couple of years, and I would say, how do they not get him the ball? How do they literally just intentionally or like proactively not give him the ball? He's the best center in the NBA. You could argue he's the most dominant player because he's so big. He's so big and he's so fast, and he's like Shaq. He's quick and he's fast. He's bigger than everyone else. And on top of that, he's got a great I don't know if he's got a great, but he's got a decent mid-range shot. He's a good free throw shooter. Actually, I'm looking at his free throw percentages now. Now he is
he should be 86, 87, or 88.
Where is this? Why what are the worst stats ever? Anyway, literally ESPN, you saw. But the problem was Al Horford was the worst signing they ever could have made, just like the Nets just got Blake Griffin. Wait till they see. Ben Simmons, you know, everything he wants to do is in the exact same place that Joel wants to operate. You know, then you look at like Harris, who is like a mid-range guy, like he'll shoot from 3. He wants to be in the same place that Joel does. He wants to post up. Then you look at like Richardson last year. He's not going to shoot a ton. He's playing like okay for like the Mavs, but look at the Mavs. They're struggling. You put Curry in, you put Danny Green in, who isn't the Danny Green he was with the Raptors or the Spurs, but guess what? The dude can still shoot, and he's a threat to shoot. He's a pretty good shooter now who's capable of hitting threes. Obviously, Curry is like has turned out to be almost as good as his brother in terms of like percentage, and that's like the facts. But now Doc Rivers, priority 1 through 9 is get Joel the ball. And is stay out of Ben Simmons' way, and then whatever else happens. Then gives Curry the ball. They play great defense. They have a go-to guy. They have a second go-to guy. See, Ben Simmons is like a weird go-to guy because you're really, when it comes to the playoffs, you really need to be able to shoot. You can't just drive mercilessly to the basket and count that as like a de facto, like, yes, that's how I'm going to get shots. Like the Nets have 3 guys who can score better from anywhere. That's not a good balance if they were to, or the Celtics, right? All those guys can shoot. But they do play good defense, and they have Joel. And in my mind, and I joked about this on another podcast or IG Live last week, but like, Neil, you're going to laugh. You put Joel against it, he's going to score 100 points. He's literally going to score if he wanted to. And the focus in the game was give him the ball so Durant fouls out, so Jordan fouls out, so Blake Griffin, I don't even think he comes off the bench in that scenario. Who's going to guard Joel Embiid on that team? You think Kevin Durant is going to guard Joel Embiid? The dude is for 100 points. 100 points in a NBA playoff game. But they're not going to give him the ball every time, and it's not going to work like that. So he's not going to score 100. But I don't think if they can really play phenomenal defense, they can beat the Nets. And it all starts with Joel. And look, They got to hit shots. I mean, the Celtics, I actually think the Celtics play the 76ers better than they play the Nets just because they're used to that system. You know, those guys have tended to struggle against the Celtics players a little bit. Obviously, Joel cooks, but like, he always cooks, right? Mm-hmm. But we'll see. I'm excited for the playoffs, even though I don't even know how many games are left in the NBA in the regular season.
Does anyone know? Does the NBA know?
It's like a 36 season league season. So.
And does anyone know?
Yeah.
So before we wrap up, guys, and yes, an hour has gone by very quickly. It doesn't feel that way. Mm-hmm. I want to throw in one last question. What is your surprise for the season that you don't think anyone else is going to see coming?
You mean for the second half? For
this second half of the season. And if you want to add the playoffs, you can go right ahead. But the second half, what is the biggest surprise you feel is going to come? I'm going to start with you, Neil.
Biggest surprise. What is the biggest surprise I am going to see this season? I actually feel like the Golden State Warriors will not be in position number 8-7 come the end of the season. Woo! I think that everybody stays healthy because they are saying they're looking to make a move for Oladipo. If that happens, and you can somehow manage to get rid of Kelly Oubre or more importantly Andrew Wiggins, then I have no problem with that, and I can actually see them in a 6 seed situation with that. So,
could be.
Yeah, in terms of a surprise, I can see that.
I love hot takes to finish the show. So let's hope that Jeff has something even harder.
Oh, I got a hot take for you. In my mind, in the NBA season, the Celtics are going to make a dynamic trade, and I'm hearing from a couple sources who I don't know from these sources that everyone always happens in sports. There's like these sources that somehow these people know shit that like the people on the team don't know and the players don't know, but they're sources. These sources have told the world of sports that the Celtics could be interested in Jeremy Grant, and they could potentially make a trade. And if they get him, or they get Harrison Barnes, or they get Andre Drummond, or they get Nikolai Vucevic, whatever the hell his name is, on Orlando, there's 4 options that are legitimate options. They have the money. Everything can work out. If they get any one of those guys, I think the Celtics can make it to the NBA Finals. And I think if they get a big guy like a Vucevic or whatever the hell his name is, or or Jeremy Grant, I think that team is going to be dangerous. They're going to be dangerous, and they're going to have a lot of facilitators who can score and rebound and defend, and then the Celtics win a title, and we're here on another podcast in a couple of months, and I'm smiling.
Your own podcast, I'm guessing.
But with you, though, and Neil.
Well, they don't have such a hot take, and I don't even think it's surprising, but because I know I have 2 Knicks fans watching the show right now, I'm going to purposely do this for them. I think the Knicks fall out of playoff contention. At least I think the Knicks are going to fall into that play-in tournament and then don't make it. Shocker. Because
no. Yeah. It's not a surprise, Justin. Come on, surprise us.
Yeah, I didn't really have anything like because reality is there's going to be so much injury / COVID-19 protocol. It's going to be very hard to predict. But at some point, the league is going to catch up that this smoke and mirrors with Julius Randle and slowing down the basketball, playing defense really should not be beating teams. You're seeing Toronto and Miami now, 2 teams who struggled early on, have now gotten back their footing and are starting to make a run at home court advantage in the first round for the Eastern Conference playoffs. So I think the Knicks are going to fall back to earth. Like, you're just not better than, and in any order, you're not better than Philadelphia, Brooklyn, Milwaukee, Indiana, Boston, Toronto.
No, they're not even better than. I don't even think they're better than the Pacers.
As I said, so I suspect you're going to see the New York Knicks are going to fall back into that play-in tournament, and they're just not going to get back in. And that is
I know we don't typically do this, but I have the chat here. Our Ricky Nurse is here saying Justin is such a savage killjoy.
Yeah.
He is one of the Knicks fans, but
yeah. I said I purposely did that.
Ricky, but
I was watching the chat while y'all were going off, right? And so I said, I have bunch of Knicks supporters in my chat, so I was just waiting, to be quite honest. So that's why I did that. But reality is, the only surprise is, y'all, like, COVID-19 is going to play the biggest part in this title. Like, somebody major is going to get hit with either an absence, injury, or something COVID-19 related. And the team who stays the healthiest or avoids contracting the virus for as long as possible is probably the team that's going to end up winning. And yeah, basically that is as hot as my take is going to get for tonight, because y'all just did it yourselves. So. But I want to thank you, Jeff, again for coming on. And please, as I said, go the App Store, go Google Play, and download.
This episode's finished.
Yep. Neil, I want to see you on and send me an invite.
Yeah, just I don't know how it works, but I would definitely try to get.
No, it is as easy. Like, you're not going to even have to ask me or Jeff directions. It is as easy as it is. Record. You record your tape for 30 seconds. You give it a title, tag some friends, put on a hashtag, and you are good to go. So, Jeff,
or you could just find a topic with a bunch of people and just join in.
Or you could just say, I didn't want to get to that, Jeff. When you drop that hot take, please tag me, because it is almost like you forget that there's somebody called Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Christian Laettner. So I will indeed challenge you on that Kemba Walker run.
It's funny. It's funny. He was talking about Kemba Walker. I was like, what about Christian Laettner? What about Bill Walton? What about?
Yeah, it's almost like we forgot that Christian Laettner played basketball.
You know what? We're going to have an epic battle. I'm going to have the team make a banner for this. We do, Neil. We do banners for a whole bunch of creators because we love them and we support them. It's like a billboard for creators on the side of the like a super busy highway, and we just do it because we love them. And
no, Neil, legit, like this Justin has a banner on SportsMe. So, folks, like, please, I'm not here to sell you on my friend's Jeff project. I'm not here to put you in an app just because this Justin is in the app. And yes, this Justin is indeed in the app. I'm telling you, this is the fastest rising sports app there is right now. And you do not want to miss out when it gets big. And as you said, there will be some things coming forward that Jeff will on his social media accounts alert you. So go follow SportsMe. First, download SportsMe and go follow them on all the platforms, Instagram especially. But guys, that is it. If Marsha was here hosting, she would be upset that I have carried on this show for longer than the intended hour. So I just want to wish her a happy International Women's Day to her, all the women in sports and all the women out there, period. Whether you're a mother, sister, just this day was for you. So enjoy it. But for Jeff and Neil, I am Justin from This Just In, and we are signing out. See you the same bat time, same bat channel on Monday.
See you guys.
Good night. Hey, Jeff.
I don't have a mark on my face, and my upset son in Lisbon, and I just turned 22 years old. I must be the greatest. I told the world, I talk to God every day. If God's with the kingdom out of here, just the same. I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I shook up the world.
I said, can I be a legend? Search your soul and answer me this question. Do you think I have what it takes to be great, but still be humble and learn from my mistakes?